Hello there everyone, this is my much delayed time and place book tag. I was tagged by Camille and I will link her channel down below, and I will also link the original creator of this book tag. If you haven't checked out Camille's channel, I definitely recommend that you do. She is really creative and comes up with different ways to do these kinds of book tags and videos. I, on the other hand, I'm going to keep it simple and just talk face to face as to what my stories are and where I place books in the stories of my life. People usually talk about like where they were physically, but I think I'm going to talk a little bit about where I was mentally as well, because I really connect books to like a thought that I've had in my life, or like an epiphany, how that book guided me to think different ways, or why I sought that book out in the first place had to do with where I was mentally too. Like Camille said in her video, she could do multiple videos of this, and I agree with that. When I first got to planning this video, I was like, which books do I talk about? And then I came up with a lot of books really quickly. So like Camille, I might do a second part. The first book that I'll talk about is Converting Kate by Beckie Weinheimer. So the book follows a girl named Kate who was raised in this fictitious Holy Divine Church, and they were more strict than other churches. So Kate moves to a new town after her father passes away and starts exploring the world outside of the Holy Divine Church, and also outside the strictness that the church imposes on her family life. The thing about this book is that Kate is not bashing religion. She's just seeking to practice a religion that is not as strict to her and allows her to ask questions. This book reminds me of the time in my life when I was really trying to ask the same questions that Kate is asking. I was raised Catholic, but it was a very loose kind of Catholicism. Like, I was baptized and that kind of stuff, but I didn't really go to church frequently. I never really connected with that side of my upbringing as much as, say, my dad did when he was growing up. So there was a time in my life when I would really feel crappy about my beliefs. I'm really not here to open a can of worms, and I'm not here to start discussing these issues again. I'm just here telling you like what I was thinking at that point in my life when I was like in my early teens into my mid-teens. And I would just feel horribly every time that something would go like massively wrong in the world. So I'm thinking about the earthquake that happened in Haiti, I'm thinking about Hurricane Katrina, I'm thinking about the Indian Ocean tsunami, I'm thinking of all these big events, natural disaster events, and questioning like, why is my God that I'm supposed to believe in, why is he allowing for this to occur? So of course, where do I turn? I turn to books, right? So I found this book. I was really trying to look for a book that discussed some of these issues. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the theme, and what I think I enjoyed most is I wasn't seeking a book to tell me, you know, like there is no God or there is a God. It doesn't have to tell me, you know, what's right or wrong. It doesn't have to tell me like an end-all be-all. I just wanted to kind of see how other people kind of process these same questions. It didn't tell me that religion was good or bad. It was just saying that asking questions of your religions is healthy. You're not supposed to blindly just follow something. You're supposed to really see eye to eye with what they're teaching you and agree with what they're teaching you instead of just blindly following like a zombie. The majority of people that I surround myself by do believe in a higher power. I've come to a point in my life when I don't feel like I need religion to live the life that I want to lead. I have learned by living what kind of person I want to be, and what makes a good person to me. So those are the kinds of things that I follow, as well as the people that I surround myself with. I see how they live their life, I learn from them, and I learn what it takes to be a good person from them. So for that reason, I have not really practiced religion in many, many years, and I am not bashing anyone, so if you're watching this, this is just my experience and my thoughts. This is not me telling you how to live your life, and I just want a better understanding between human beings of this is what you believe and this is what I believe, and that is just that. That's pretty much all I have to really say about that story. So I started out strong and slightly controversial. I hope you guys don't unfollow me because of my thoughts, please. The next book that I'll talk about is still kind of controversial in a way, but it also did impact how I have memories of 9/11. So this book is The Notebook Girls, and it was written by 4 different girls. I believe it was written like 2002, and then it was published in 2006. So it's a really, really old book. It was written right after 9/11, and they were from New York. The school where they were at is like 4 blocks from Ground Zero, so they were kind of in the thick of it when it occurred. So the Notebook girls had this notebook, and this is a nonfiction book. This is just a notebook that they passed around through their 4 friends, and they read a lot about really all kinds of things that girls think about when they're teenagers. Boys and sex, activities that they're doing, written in their handwriting too, so it was literally like you were reading their journal, so that made it really, really interesting. I don't really know if it would hold up if I read it today. I probably would think it's horrible. I think the most important thing from this book is definitely there's an entry from a girl named Sophie about 9/11 in this book, and it's kind of like a recalling of it a year or 2 years later. She kind of just describes what her day was like on 9/11 and what she thought about, and really it was the most evocative piece and the most important piece, I think, of the entire book. So they really go into how everything changed after 9/11 for them. You know, I think about it from time to time, and when I connect my thoughts of what happened on 9/11, I connected with this book as well and what she thought on 9/11, because when 9/11 happened, I was in 3rd grade, so I was very young, and all I really remember is like the teachers completely stopping their lesson, turning on the television, and everybody was just like looking around at each other and not really understanding what was going on. So I didn't know what was happening, and I'm sure that it was explained to me in endearing and kind terms later on by my father or other people that I would ask, you know, like, what's going on. I think it was explained to me, but I think it took a couple more years for me to really gather what happened on that day and start forming a memory, the memories that I made in that time period that have impacted how I remember it to this day. So this book is one of those memories that I have of 9/11. And then the last book that I'll talk about is really going to be books that I'll talk about, and that is all books by Sarah Dessen, especially the ones that she published earlier on, like Dreamland, Keeping the Moon, This Lullaby, The Truth About Forever, all those books. And I guess this would be kind of the most expansive or large segment of time and place for these books. These were literally me as a teenager. It was all I read when I was a teen, and I couldn't wait. Every time there was a new Sarah Dessen book out, I needed to go get it. And I made it a challenge to myself that I would read all of her older ones. When I started finding her, like The Truth About Forever and This Lullaby, I started going back and reading Dreamland and Keeping the Moon. I can precisely in my head remember the couch that I was sitting on when I read Keeping the Moon. I can remember how groundbreaking Dreamland was as a book to me as a teenager, and how it really changed and impacted the way that I saw abuse and how I saw relationships. Sarah Dessen books really transported me to grounded real worlds that I could see myself in, and seeing myself in these main characters, starting to daydream about all these boys like Dexter and This Lullaby and Owen and Just Listen. At that point in my life, there were really no boys in my life. If I really had to pick one book that symbolizes me as a teenage girl growing up, it would definitely be This Lullaby. That was my favorite book, Sarah Dessen book, and book overall growing up. If I reread it nowadays, I don't know if I'd connect with it. I don't know if it would hold up today, but it is a book that putting me in a time and a place reminds me of being a teenager and how much all those books shaped me as a person. So those are 3 books that I can put in a time and a place in my life, and how I was thinking and how I was feeling and where I was situated when I was reading them as well. If you haven't done this tag, then I think you should. Honestly, like, if you haven't done it, consider yourself tagged. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you kind of learned a little bit more about me, kind of where I'm coming from and who I am. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!